really frightened. I was frightened when, COVID first reared its head. I was terrified I would catch it. Then I was terrified when I had it because I would wake up at night. I actually stopped breathing at one point quite regularly at night. I had aspects of sleep apnea, which thankfully has sorted itself out. And I was frightened of going into hospital because I thought I would die if I went to hospital. And then as I started to make a recovery, I was kind of hopeful. But then when the symptoms of long COVID were such that my brain fog on days was such that my brain was literally wading through, it was like trying to explain, it's like wading through treacle. My brain is trying to wade through treacle. And I had tremors and I dropped things all the time. And I started to become quite frightened with that because I was worried, every time I stand up, is it going to be like this? I was really scared that that was going to be my life. And if the vertigo and dizziness, by the way, kick in when you've got brain fog, it's like your brain is wading through treacle while you're simultaneously on a roller coaster. And that is the best way I can think of to describe it. I mean, I've never had my brain wade through treacle, or I've never personally waded through treacle. I have been on a roller coaster, so that I can, and then, you get the tremors and I'm kind of, I was wondering if I would ever be able to do the crafts and things I like. I still struggle with sewing a little bit because when I'm trying to hold scissors, my hands shake. But now it's a case of, I still know every time something comes up, I'm actually quite frightened about what is my long-term prognosis. I'm kind of frightened this has really shortened my lifespan because I'm not 100% sure of what's happened to me. Well, I mean, I'm on my own as well. So, a lot of other people may have had other people around who could do the cooking or do the cleaning or whatever. I didn't have any of that. So I had this bone crushing fatigue and I discovered that absolutely everything knocked me out. I couldn't, if I tried to, I couldn't stand up in the shower. I still can't have a shower without sitting down. I have to think about whether it's a shower and washing my hair or just a quick wash, because still I've got the energy. The energy output is it'll just knock me. It can just knock me for 6. People also forget, I think, that, you're taking medication. I'm now up to 4 times a day. I think on average, I take about 6 or 7 tablets at a time, and that's both prescribed medication and supplements. And if I wasn't taking them, I just wouldn't be functional. But aside from the fatigue, which just had a huge impact, I mean, I couldn't stand up anymore. If I stood up, I got really dizzy. And as it turns out, I was right about palpitations. If I did, I'd get tired really quickly. So I can't, and I love cooking. I love cooking and I love baking, and I can't do any of that anymore because even nearly a year on from that, I still can't stand up for more than 10 minutes at a time if I'm lucky. I never used to have any problems with walking, but a combination of pain, fatigue, and, as I now discovered, neurological issues as a result of the virus, I have to use a rollator when I leave the house because my balance is off or whatever. I will just live with this ever-present fear that I'm going to lose my home, I'm going to lose my job. What happens if I have to give up work? And that, plus trying to deal with your health, often I have to kind of like pause and go, you just have to deal with one thing at a time. That's all. And that's all I can do, is just deal with it one bit at a time. Put an awful lot more funding into long COVID research for a start. And some of it along, asking us what we need and actually looking into what's going on with our bodies. And then, because if you know what's kind of going on with us, then you can develop treatment. And if you can develop treatment for long COVID, chances are that some of what works for us might actually work for other people with chronic conditions like ours that don't really get you know, the same level of diagnostic and treatment that others do. And I'm talking about ME, and I'm talking about fibromyalgia, I'm talking about people who have chronic post-viral syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome.